Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Mm,
Today we're going to try to wrap our heads around something pretty wild. It's this idea that everything, literally everything in the universe, is a processor. I
everything.
mean everything. Like even this coffee cup I'm holding,
Yeah,
or like the planets and stars out there in space.
that's right.
And the source material we're going to be using to dive into this concept is excerpts from the Cognitive-Theoretic Model of the universe, or as it's more commonly known, the CTMU.
Yeah, the CTMU. It's a fascinating model.
Yeah. Now, I know what you might be thinking listening to this. A rock,
Mm,
a processor.
yeah,
It doesn't exactly have like a motherboard or a CPU, does it?
it doesn't. And that's where things get really interesting. You see, the CTMU wants us to think about processing in a way broader sense. It's not just about computers, it's about how anything interacts with its environment, how it takes in information, transforms it, all of that.
Okay. So let's break this down a little bit. The CTMU claims that the universe is like this giant self-writing, self-processing language. But how can something like a simple rock, just a plain old rock, how can that be a part of this whole language thing?
Well, think of it this way. Even a rock, just sitting there, it still has a set of rules that govern how it interacts with the world. It's got a kind of syntax, if you will.
Okay.
And that syntax comes from things like the laws of physics, gravity, erosion, its chemical composition. All those things, they dictate how the rock behaves, how it exists in the world.
So the way a rock just sits there, seemingly doing absolutely nothing, that's actually a form of processing
Yeah,
because it's constantly interacting with all these forces around it.
you got it. That's the idea. And it also has a state.
Hmm.
Its shape, its location, its temperature at any given moment, and all of those things are constantly changing based on those interactions. So even though it seems really inert, that rock is participating in this grand cosmic computation, just on a different level than, say, a human brain.
Okay. All right. I think I'm starting to get a feel for this, this expanded definition of processing that we're working with here.
Yeah.
So if a rock is a processor in this sense, then where does something like a star fit into all of this? Because a star seems a lot more, complex and dynamic.
Oh, that's a fantastic point. Stars are a really great example of a more complex processor.
Hmm?
You've got all this matter being taken in, atoms fusing, energy radiating out.
Hmm.
And a star's gravity, it's influencing entire solar systems. It's a powerful engine driving change on a massive scale.
Wow, yeah. So you could almost say that a star is like a giant cosmic furnace.
Yeah.
Is processing matter and energy to create the building blocks of the universe.
I love that analogy. That's a great way to think about it. And just like in a furnace, you have your inputs, your outputs, your transformations, your feedback loops. It's all part of a larger interconnected system.
Hmm. This is really blowing my mind. But where do we humans fit into all of this?
Mhm.
I mean, we like to think we're pretty special with our ability to think and create and understand the universe and all that.
Well, and we are. In fact, the CTMU suggests that humans, with our consciousness, our creativity, we represent a kind of pinnacle of processing power in the universe. We're capable of not only responding to our environment, but also actively shaping it. We're not just passengers.
Wow. So we're like the supercomputers of the cosmos.
You could say that. We can reflect on the universe, we can model it, understand its laws, we can even manipulate those laws to a certain extent. We're actively contributing to the universe's ongoing evolution.
That's an empowering thought.
Yeah,
It makes you feel like our actions, no matter how small, they can have a real impact on the universe.
absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting. Because the CTMU, it argues that the universe isn't just processing information, it's processing itself. It's self-referential, constantly evolving through the actions and interactions of everything in it. But you know what? That's a conversation for our next segment.
Okay, so before we went to the next segment, we were talking about this idea from the CTMU. You know about how the universe is constantly processing itself.
Right?
And it's a bit of a mind bender, to be honest.
It really is. It's a pretty radical concept.
Right.
And the CTMU actually has this term, telic recursion, that they use to describe this whole self-referential processing thing.
Telic recursion.
Oh, yeah. And basically what it suggests is that, the universe isn't just evolving randomly, like there's an actual direction to it, a drive towards greater complexity, greater coherence.
Okay, I see. So how does that work in practice, though? I mean, does that mean there's like some kind of grand plan for the universe? Like somebody wrote it all out ahead of time?
That's an interesting question. I don't think it's so much a plan, like a set blueprint. It's more like a tendency, a natural inclination that the universe has towards self-organization, kind of like a giant feedback loop. Every interaction, every transformation of information, it all feeds back into the system, and that influences its future evolution. Like, think of a composer writing a symphony. Each note builds upon the ones that came before it, and it's all leading towards this grand finale.
Ah, okay. I get it. So it's not just random chance then that the universe went from these, simple particles to stars and planets and eventually to life as
Yeah.
we know it. There's an actual directionality to it, like it's baked into the fabric of reality itself.
Exactly. That's what the CTMU is arguing, that the universe is inherently self-organizing, and it's constantly striving toward these greater levels of complexity, interconnectedness, and dare I say, even beauty.
Wow, that is a profound thought. So where do we humans fit into all of this then? Because, we like to think we're pretty special with our big brains and our capacity for abstract thought.
And you know what? We are. The CTMU, it posits that humans, with our consciousness and creativity, we represent a kind of pinnacle of processing power in the known universe.
So we're like the supercomputers of the cosmos, capable of processing information on a scale that just nothing else can.
In a sense, yes, we can respond to our environment, sure, but we can also reflect on it, model it, and even manipulate it to a degree. We're not just along for the ride here. We're actively shaping the universe through our actions and our creations.
It makes me think about all the amazing things that humans have accomplished.
Right.
Art, science, music, technology. But are we actually pushing the universe towards greater complexity through our efforts?
That's a really great question, and it's something that the CTMU definitely brings up because our creativity, our problem-solving skills, even just our drive to explore and understand all of these things, they're contributing to the universe's ongoing evolution. We're not just witnesses to this whole cosmic symphony.
Yeah.
We're active participants in its composition.
That's very empowering. But what about the not so great things that humans do?
Oh.
Wars, environmental destruction, all the things that seem to break down complexity instead of building it up.
Yeah.
How do those things fit into this idea of telic recursion?
That's a really crucial point, and it's something that the CTMU doesn't shy away from. It acknowledges that, yeah, there are these darker aspects of existence. You've got your chaos, your destruction, even events that seem, at least to us, to be negative.
Yeah.
And all of that is still a part of this grand process.
So even when we mess up, we're still contributing to the universe's evolution in some way.
In a way, yes. Think of it like the universe is experimenting, trying out different possibilities. Even if some of those possibilities end up being dead ends, or what we perceive as setbacks, even failures, they provide valuable information that feeds back into the system. It's almost as if the universe itself is constantly learning and adapting.
That's actually kind of comforting in a way.
Yeah.
Because even when things seem super chaotic on the surface, there's this underlying order, this purpose that's driving it all forward. It makes you wonder, though, what's the ultimate goal of all of this? Like, where is all this complexity headed? So, before the break, we were talking about these pretty profound questions, right? Like about the universe's ultimate goals. If everything is a processor and it's all contributing to this, what was it, telic recursion, where is all this complexity headed? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? The million-dollar question. And the CTMU, it does offer some possibilities, but they are admittedly pretty speculative.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
So tell me, what kind of cosmic endgame are we talking about here?
Well, okay, so some interpretations of the CTMU, they suggest that maybe, just maybe, the universe is evolving towards a state of, maximal coherence.
Maximal coherence.
Yeah, where everything is totally interconnected and integrated, to the highest possible degree.
So kind of this giant, perfectly synchronized network where every single node is in perfect harmony with every other node.
Exactly, a state of, ultimate self-awareness, where the universe fully understands itself and all of its potential. And some people even go so far as to suggest that there might be, a merging of consciousness with the very fabric of reality itself.
Whoa. Okay, now we're getting into some serious science fiction territory. But I got to admit, it's a pretty tantalizing idea.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. And, even if we don't fully buy into those, most radical interpretations, I think the CTMU still offers some really valuable takeaways.
Like what can we, as, mere mortals, glean from this mind-bending model of the universe?
Well, for one thing, I think it really encourages us to see like the interconnectedness of everything.
Hmm.
If everything is processing information and contributing to the universe's evolution, then that means that our actions, even the seemingly small ones, they have ripple effects way beyond what we can even imagine.
So it's like the butterfly effect, but on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. Like a simple act of kindness, a creative endeavor, even just a casual conversation, it can all have these unforeseen consequences,
Uh,
influencing the state of the universe in ways that are subtle but profound.
okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty empowering thought. It makes you feel like you're really a part of something much bigger than yourself.
Yeah. And you know what else? It encourages us to like embrace complexity and change.
Hmm.
The universe, according to the CTMU, it's not static, it's dynamic, it's a process, it's constantly evolving. So we shouldn't fear change. We should see it as an opportunity for growth and evolution, both for ourselves and for the universe as a whole.
So instead of clinging to what's familiar, we should be more open to new experiences, new ideas, new ways of being.
Exactly. And finally, I think the CTMU, it reminds us of the importance of perspective. It challenges us to zoom out, to see the world from this broader, more holistic point of view, and to recognize that our current understanding of the universe, it's just a tiny snapshot of a much, much grander reality.
It's like we're constantly expanding our awareness, like realizing that there's always more to learn, more to discover, and that the journey of exploration never really ends.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And that sense of endless possibility, that recognition that we are part of something vast and mysterious, it can be incredibly humbling and inspiring too.
This has been a really mind-expanding conversation. I mean, it makes you look at everything, even the most mundane things, in a whole new light.
Doesn't it? And ultimately, I think that's the most powerful takeaway from the CTMU. It's not just a theory about the universe, it's a framework for understanding our place in it.
Right.
It reminds us that we're not just these isolated individuals, but that we're these integral parts of this vast interconnected web of process and meaning.
And that our lives, our choices, our actions, they matter, not just for us, but for the universe as a whole.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of the CTMU.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.